Shavua Tov, Gute Woch. The story I want to tell today from the Shiv Chayabesht is the 12th story, the one that comes after the one from last week, and it's called Divrei Musar Marav HaKeila, the words of Musar from the Rav of the community. Musar, the moral teachings, usually refer to like an amonestation. When you are teaching somebody a moral teaching but pulling his ear and making him react to correct his ways. The Kehila here is the Rav of Kitov, which is the place where Rav Gershon is a Talmid Chacham, the brother-in-law of the Baal Shem Tov. Now, according to the previous story, they're in the city of Brody, and I'll have to look at the geography of this. I can't comment on that. Okay. The point is, when the Baal Shem Tov used to go to the community of Kitov to daven, to pray in Rosh Hashanah, he would stay there the entire month of Tishrei, I guess. And once, in the day of Chol HaMoed Sukkos, the Baal Shem Tov was praying, was davening on the Mizrach wall, on the eastern wall of the shul, which is the place where the big Talmidei Chachamim would sit. The Baal Shem Tov was not yet revealed as who he was, so he was kind of out of place if he was pretending to be a commoner and an ignoramus and, hiding who he really was. Why would he sit in such a place? And especially in such a prominent place that everybody sees, in Chol HaMoed, he's not putting on tefillin. So Rav Gershon approaches him, his brother-in-law, and asks him, why are you not putting on tefillin hayom today? So he says, I saw in the books in Yiddish, meaning in the Tzena Urena, or these books written for women, where they have like basic guides for halacha for people who don't learn. That's what women in the time, because they were not schooled in Lashon Kodesh, in the holy language, they would write for them books in Yiddish that one person could read and they all could hear and understand. And the Baal Shem Tov uses that book, that simple book, as a source for what he's about to say. Whomever puts tefillin in Chol HaMoed deserves a death punishment from above, from heaven. The source for this actually is in the Zohar, and there are many writings about it, and by the time of Baal Shem Tov, all the Jews of the Sephardic and Eastern communities already would avoid putting on tefillin during the days of Chol HaMoed, Sukkot, and Pesach. But among the Ashkenazim, there was a source from the Ramah, Rav Moshe Sarles, that he said there is a minhag Ashkenaz to put on tefillin in Chol HaMoed. So they still were putting on tefillin. So the Baal Shem Tov could have quoted very deep sources and could have been right, but he was playing it soft. I saw in some easy to read, book for the ignorant, I saw that we don't put on tefillin. So Rav Gershon understands, you're quoting something very deep, but you're quoting it from a lighter source. I don't know where you're gonna get people confused if you start playing this. You have to be put in your place. So after the prayer, he brings him to the Rav of the community, the head of the Besdin of Kitov, Rav Moshe, whom I mentioned in a story a few weeks ago. It's actually not yet mentioned here in the book, later. He is, I believe he's one of the tzaddikim nistarim. It's a big tzaddik. He knows things deeply. He recognizes spiritual things. So Rav Gershon brings the Baal Shem Tov, his brother-in-law, Rav Yisrael. He doesn't know he's the Baal Shem Tov, okay, for Rav Moshe to give him Musar, to put him in his place. So as they are entering the room to speak with Rav Gershon, with Rav Moshe, Rav Gershon touches the mezuzah and kisses his hand. The Baal Shem Tov touches the mezuzah and puts his hand down and does not kiss it. Now Rav Gershon is again upset at the Baal Shem Tov. Yeah, second thing in a row, you don't put on tefillin, and Chol Hamoed, now you don't kiss the mezuzah. So, as they approach, the Baal Shem Tov removes his spiritual covers. He doesn't have a physical veil, but he removes that which a tzaddik nistar, would be able to see the hidden light in another tzaddik. It's like revealing. And then he covers it again, and took off the cover and cover it again. Rav Gershon doesn't realize what's going on, but Rav Moshe opens his eyes, excuses himself for a moment, pulls the Baal Shem Tov into another room and tells him, I decree upon you, I do a gezeira upon you, you have to reveal right now who you are. I saw it. Baal Shem Tov says, I do a gezeira upon your gezeira that this is not the time to be revealed. No. They come back to the room, and Rav Moshe says to Rav Gershon, Rav Gershon complains about the tefillin, mezuzah, all the thing happens. Rav Moshe says to Rav Gershon, I gave him already a toichach, I gave him a stark lesson already. He means well, he wants to do things according to the shitta, the proper way in halacha, and I put him in his place. As they left, the Baal Shem Tov gave the Moshe the mezuzah that he did not kiss. Rav Moshe takes the mezuzah, opens it, they have left, and realizes the mezuzah is pasul. Psula, meaning it's not a kosher mezuzah, as will happen later with the story with the Zohar. So by now, Rav Moshe realizes that Baal Shem Tov is somebody very special. He doesn't want to reveal that he's taking things from the deep of the knowledge of the Torah, so he has to say as though he was saying them from superficial sources available to an Amaret, to a commoner. But he knows who the Baal Shem Tov really is. Rav Gershon hasn't yet realized. We'll continue with the stories next week. And last week I told a story, I told about a biography about the Baal Shem Tov, but I was just like technical details of, where was he from, where he lived. You cannot have a complete biography of the Baal Shem Tov without the content. The content is Toras of Baal Shem Tov, Torah of Baal Shem Tov, the teachings of the Baal Shem Tov, and that's what really makes him who he is. Without it, the story, the content, historic content doesn't make much sense. And it's difficult to tell everything the Baal Shem Tov teaches. But we can try to throw a few dots here and there. Baal Shem Tov is a strong believer in that everything is Hashgacha Pratis, everything is the divine providence. Hashem is in everything, in us, in everything we do, in everything we see. Everything is a lesson from Hashem. And he's particularly concerned about our connection to Hashem, our deveikus. Devek in Hebrew is glue. How we glue ourselves to God, especially during prayer. So a great part of the teaching of the Baal Shem Tov is what's the meaning of the words and the expressions and the feeling and the thoughts, and how do we use prayer to connect to Hashem. The Mekubalim have, the Kabbalists have many kavanos, but the Baal Shem Tov doesn't care about just the kavanos, but the whole purpose of it, how to connect to God in the words we do, in the words we say, in prayer, especially. Also the entire day and everything we do, because we're always before Hashem and always before what Hashem is giving us, is putting in front of us in our life. There is, of course, a lot more to be taught. We'll do one thing at a time. A good Devoch, Shavua Tov.